Guys, what is going on? Blossom is back and welcome back to another episode of Top Drives. Now, today's episode is obviously another episode of what can you get from that pack, and we're going to be reviewing the, well, not really the C11 Mercedes final pack. This literally just is the entirety of Learn the Savannah Way. So, in a sense, we are literally just going to be judging the entire update from Ultra Rares to Epics, because there are no legendaries in this update. Now, one thing I want to let you guys know, obviously, like, in this series, I always like to give my personal opinions. I'll be showing you some times as well. But please take my opinion of a little bit of more salt than usual, because these cars are all very, very new. So some of my initial predictions, or some of my initial, predictions is the right word, or assumptions on how these cars will perform, may be wrong. Maybe I think that the Ford Falcon XR8 is a fantastic car. As I said, that it looks like it's going to be really good because of that super low 0 to 60, but it might turn out to be a piece of crap. So we don't really know until a lot of times really show up. I don't have a lot of these cars maxed yet because I'm out of super rare fuse material, so I can't really get the times myself, so I'm kind of relying on Top Drives records for the times, and there are not a lot of them out there yet, so do take my opinion with a little bit of, a little pinch of salt. But I've been playing this game for a very long time, so usually I kind of get the guideline. Like, I can kind of tell, not really kind of, I'm actually really good at telling if a car is going to turn out to be really good or really bad. So without further ado, man, let's get into it. And obviously, guys, for this series, I'll be splitting it into two parts. Obviously, I'm going to be judging the pack on how good the cards are in a general sense, but why the hell would you open this pack if you're not competing for the Sauber C11? Bit sus. Well, besides the fact that you may or may not be Australian. And then obviously I'll be showing you another tier list of how useful I think these cars are going to be solely in the Tri-Series sense with the track sets that we're going to see, okay? So without further ado, guys, let's talk about the cars from this pack. Obviously, the ranks are Dirk Kaiser, Daily Driver, Frequent Provider, Pernicious Ulcer, Hot Garbage, and Oops. Why do we have Oops? Is because I put a prize car in here. That's a prize car. We don't know how well that's going to perform yet, okay? So anyway, let us begin. So first things first, I want to just talk about all the saloons as a whole, okay? The saloons are pretty hard to gauge. They're pretty hard to understand if it's going to be good or not. Over here, as you can see, are going to be some of the times for the saloon cars from Learn the Savannah Way. Obviously, there are a lot of them. I'm going to split it into two categories, basically. The first part is going to be the low ground clearance saloon cars. They're not a lot. Like I said, it's a brand new niche that the Learn the Savannah Way cars are kind of filling up, and that is ultra rare low ground clearance saloon cars. And before this update, it really only was the Alfa Romeo Giulia Veloce representing the low end, and the Scat Pack representing the high end. And right here, as you can see, for the FPV as well as the Cobra spec, it doesn't look very good, to be honest. I'm going to bring this a little bit bigger. I don't want to bring it into full screen, so I want to see if I can drag this down. It's not letting me do that. Maybe I have to bring it up like this. Oh no, it's just gone now. Technology. Let's bring that up. Okay, so as you can see right now, like, the Giulia Veloce is still the better car in all the twisty stuff. It's better than the Cobra spec in the car park and the G-force. Not in the hairpin road though, so it looks like the Cobra spec will be somewhere in between. But when it comes to the twistier stuff, the Giulia Veloce is still going to be the better car. But once again, guys, these are new cars, so not a lot of times for them to be represented. But what I will say is this: for these two cars to be two or one RQ higher than Giulia Veloce, it doesn't really seem to be the case. It does seem to be a little bit underwhelming. Now, if we move up a little bit, as you can see, the benchmark is the Charger, and the Charger kind of just blitzes everything. Now, to be fair, the main competitor to the Charger, I would say, is this Ford FPV right here, because these are the only two that are low ground clearance. Everything else is medium ground clearance. These two are low ground clearance, and obviously there's a big RQ difference, so I can't really say that the FPV is bad because it's way lower in RQ, so obviously it's going to be second best of the Charger. What I'm trying to say is this: there's still a wide open niche for low ground clearance saloons. There are not a lot of them out there, so the Charger is kind of the car that you kind of want to beat. But when it comes to medium ground clearance, as you can see, I was right with saying that the XR8 was going to be very, very useful. It is the best car for city street small and medium, beating out the Commodore as well as the Club Sport, which honestly I'm a bit disappointed in this car. I thought it would be a little bit better with, it being the best handling saloon and all, but as you can see, it doesn't really hold a candle to to any of these other cars. Slightly better than the Mercedes S63 on the twistier stuff, but that obviously was going to happen with an 11 handling difference. And obviously the Mercedes is going to be better on the dry conditions, but at the end of the day, it doesn't take anything away from the Charger Scat Pack. So I just wanted to show you that comparison real quick when we talk about the cars, okay? So first of all is the Ford Falcon XR6, and there's not much to say about it. I mean, it's one of the weaker handling cars. The 0 to 60 isn't very strong. I'm gonna put it in pernicious ulcer for now. I might move things around. The Ford Falcon XR8, I would say, is probably one of the cars that I'm looking forward to the most, and I'm gonna put that in daily driver, mainly because the standout stat for that car is that ridiculously low 0 to 60. It is indeed very, very impressive. MRI of the car, yeah, isn't the best thing in the world, I get it, but that 0 to 60 truly is an outstanding feature. Only 67 MRI on the car compared to the the Ford Falcon over here is 63, so I think this is just gonna stay at pernicious ulcer. I'm looking at a lot of stats on the side, guys. All right, next up is the Ford FPV F6. Now, truly, I think this car is genuinely Der Kaiser. Like I said, it's kind of operating in a niche of its own. It doesn't really have any competitors. Comparing it directly to the Charger Scat Pack is kind of unfair, considering there's a 5 RQ difference between both the cars. I think for an RQ59, it performs very, very well, and it has decent MRA. I mean, for what it's worth, 70. I mean, it is kind of Subaru territory, to be fair, so maybe decent is a stretch. But that being said, though, 0 to 60 is low, handling is high. It is Der Kaiser in my opinion. I think I'm going to get a lot of use out of the FPV in terms of saloon events, 5-seater events, anything that doesn't require medium ground clearance. All right, next two I want to talk about are the Cobra Spec and the FPV, and like I said, these two cars kind of seem a little bit underwhelming, so I'm going to put them both in pernicious ulcer. They seem to be better than the Alpha Giulia, to be fair, in the fast conditions and maybe the hairpin road, but then again, it's kind of offset by the fact that these cars are also more expensive, and it seems very, very competitive. I think what I would say is this: I think the FPV, I don't know, it's kind of tough because obviously this car is a little bit higher in RQ, but it has a lower 0 to 60. Like I said, we don't know how well these cars are genuinely going to perform until we get more times, but as for now, the thing is, I think that the Giulia is actually a very respectable car. Like, it would be like daily driver, high frequent provider. So the fact that these two cars are slightly worse doesn't make them pernicious ulcers. I'll put them in frequent provider. Next up is going to be the Ford FPV GS. Now, not much to say about the car. 79 MRA isn't the best thing in the world, but 80 handling, it's a very average car, if anything. Low ground clearance again. Not much to say about it. I'm going to put it in frequent provider. I think it is going to be the better car of these two, mainly because it has the best MRA of the bunch. This green boy has 77, the Cobra Spec at 80. Actually, this one is better. So as you can see, guys, I'm still learning a lot about these cars. I'm gonna put them all in the average tier for now. Next up is the RQ58 Ford FPV GTP. Once again, I do believe that this is another low ground clearance car, just a slightly worse version of the FPV F6 at 1 RQ less. Obviously, it's gonna handle less. Honestly, it's just gonna be daily driver in my opinion. MRA on this guy is actually pretty good though, 81, and it does have a higher top speed. The main thing bringing it down really is just that lower 0 to 60 and that lower handling. So it's more of a dragster kind of saloon, but it ain't gonna be no Charger Scat Pack. But once again, it's not fair to compare this to the Charger Scat Pack because of that RQ difference. If this was RQ62, then maybe I would be more strict on where I put the car, but for now I'm gonna put it in daily driver. Next up is the Ford Territory Turbo, and another car that I do want to talk about is this Territory Turbo. I said that this car is going to be very, very good because it seems pretty light. It has a low 0 to 60. The thing is gone again. There's a lower 0 to 60 compared to the Torrent, and the handling is also very, very similar. As you can see, there's literally no times for the Territory Turbo, so it's pretty hard to gauge if it's going to be better or worse. But we already see some telltale signs of it being kind of just average, honestly. It's still worse than the Torrent on the G-Force, for example. City Street Small Sand is still worse than the Torrent as well. It's even worse than the Avalanche, even though it handles better with a lower 0 to 60. So, yeah, I mean, the early signs of this car, because there are not a lot of times for this, to be honest, kind of just tells me that the Territory Turbo is going to be which is a bit disappointing because I really wanted this car to perform really well, but for now I'm just gonna put it in the middle. But it's nice to check out those times though, because if I didn't look at those times, if I didn't know better, I would have put it in daily driver or maybe even Der Kaiser. So yeah, frequent provider it is. Next up is the Holden Acadia, and it just looks like a back of the bunch, like heavy, doesn't handle very well, kind of Subaru Forester kind of vibes. So yeah, not very interested in that. And then moving on is this Holden Caprice. That's gonna be hot garbage. I mean, anything rear-wheel drive standard that doesn't handle, I mean, you're already bound for just absolute garbage tier. And then obviously like the Adventura and the Calibra I'm gonna put in pernicious also. I don't think it's gonna be very good. And I kind of want to just put all these off-road cars, you know, together. Now straight off the bat, we saw those times, right? This Holden HSV looks like kind of decent. But then again, it's only beating the Terrier Turbo and the Pontiac Touring in all the fast conditions. So what it tells me is that, oh, the HSV Avalanche is going to be like a more fast SUV. Well, not SUV, but, you know, all-service tire car. But then you put it up against the Trailblazer and the Range Rover, which are, you know, only 1 RQ higher. That's going to blow this car out of the water. So for now, I'm going to put it in a low daily driver, and I'm going to pair that with the HSV Avalanche. We don't know too much about these cars, but they do look relatively impressive. So I'm going to put them in daily driver. That being said, though, for this Adventure over here, pretty interesting one though, because it has the lowest 0 to 60 but the worst handling. And guys, I cannot stress this enough, handling is so incredibly important when it comes to that off-road meta, and 73 just isn't going to cut it. I think it's going to be a high frequent provider, maybe somewhere along the lines of Terrier Turbo, but like I said, guys, this is my personal opinion. Do take it with a grain of salt because we don't know much about these cars just yet. A Holden Equinox, I'm going to put it in pernicious also. It just is the heavier car. I mean, the Holden Adventura, that comes in at 1,985, and the Equinox comes, well, actually, that's a heavier car. See, I'm still learning a lot. That being said, though, it has a worse 0 to 60. Handling is still as bad. Oh, but I mean, you compare it to the Avalanche, and the Avalanche is, I'm sorry, this is probably the least professional, what can you get from that pack review ever, because all these cars are still completely brand new, so it's really hard to gauge if these cars are going to be good or not. I'm gonna put it in pernicious also though. It has the worst 0 to 60. It has the worst handling of the bunch. It is lighter, but if it had a little better handling, maybe I would have moved it up. Next up are the rest of the Saloons, and like I said, the Saloons are kind of a dime a dozen, honestly. Like they're not that good. I'm gonna move the Commodore up just because it's slightly better, but these two I'm gonna move at the bottom of the pack. And then moving on is the Holden Commodore VXR. Not too much to know about this as well. Is it going to be better than the R33? Absolutely not. But then again, this is medium ground clearance, and it is going to be kind of competing against the Subarus, and this has traction control and ABS. I think it's going to be okay for now. And then this is an easy one, the Holden Fiji water car. That is without a doubt Der Kaiser. And then the Holden, this one right here, I mean, I had a lot of high hopes for it, but it seems to be average at best. Handling is really good, but the MRA just isn't good enough, to be fair. 83 MRA, it's strong. It's just that the 0 to 60 is so weak, and it's a tough one. The main thing about putting it in frequent provider is this: it loses to the Falcon XR8 on both city streets small and city streets medium, and I think for that reason alone, I'm going to have to put this Holden here. I mean, I get that the Holden beats the Falcon on the twisty stuff, but on the twisty stuff, I mean, you'd rather just use a low ground clearance car anyway. You use the Charger anyway, so frequent provider, I'm gonna put it. I had a lot of high hopes for these two, but they don't seem to be really, you know, what is it, gaining the fruits of the labor, whatever the saying is. 1-tonner, interesting one. I think I'm gonna put it in frequent provider for now. I don't know too much about a lot of these cars. These pickup trucks, they all look very average. That's the issue, you know, like, and there's not a lot of cars to compare these two. They're literally 0 performance tire ultra rares, guys, with pickup niche. The only other one is the Maloo. That was the car that's been in the game forever, and it's still the best one. So really, there's no competition for these cars. They're all kind of within the same, you know, range of, you know, same handling of between 82 to 80. Their MRAs are all about the same. The Holden Ute SS at 68, for example. The Holden Ute SS Redline at 75. They're all just kind of average. There's nothing much to say about it. So for that reason alone, I'm just gonna put them in frequent provider. I mean, okay, let's talk about the ones that look underwhelming. Okay, the ones that look underwhelming would be the Ute. This one I think is gonna be pernicious also. You're not gonna get very far at 5.680. You're also not going to get very far with 5.481. 5.181 is a little bit better, but then again, you know, these two cars, is it really worth a 6 RQ difference of 0.3 seconds for a 0 to 60? I don't think so. I think that they're all actually going to be kind of crap. I don't know. But yeah, I'm going to put them all in pernicious also for now. I might be wrong. It might change in the future. But yeah, as you can see, I'm just going to put them all in pernicious also. Next up is going to be the Holden Monaro CV8. Now, the Holden Monaro CV8, the super rare version is strong. MRA is very good. The ultra rare version, not as much. Handling is good, but 76 MRA is You know, just kind of meh, really. It's still a very meh car, and don't know where to. I'm just gonna put it and finish this elsewhere for now. Like I said, they're all very new, but I gotta say, none of these really stand out to me. Like, none of them really have any standout statistics. No standout handling, no standout MRA, no standout top speed, no standout 0 to 60. They're all just very... yeah. Alright, moving on to epics and talking about I mean, I want to talk about hot garbage straight out the bat. This is hot garbage. This is hot garbage. This is hot garbage. I get that a lot of these saloons actually have decent MRI for the epics, right? The 65 is 90, for example. Like, this is 90 MRA. This one, for example, is 89 MRA. This one is 84 MRA, and this one is 86. Like, they're all, like, you know, strong MRA, but unfortunately, the 0 to 60s of these cars are, like, ultra rare, even super rare level in some cases. They're not very strong cars, and obviously they're very low RQ epics. Nobody's gonna want to upgrade them. They're all hot garbage in my opinion. Next up is going to be the Commodore Callias Tourer. Now this one actually looks pretty decent. I'm actually gonna put it in daily driver. Main reason for putting in daily driver is this: it's light. It's less than 1,800 kilograms. Handles pretty well as well. 4-wheel drive, all surface tires. Might be a better version of the Cadillac XT5. In my opinion. Once again, we don't have the times for them yet, so we don't know. I did check. Next up is the Ford Falcon XR6 Sprint. Now the XR6 Sprint, I mean, it's very similar to this XR8 Sprint, right? Like, you know, it's very impressive stats. So by right, you think I would put them in daily driver, because in terms of RQ, you know, it's very accurate. This car is slightly better, so it's going to be slightly higher in RQ. But then again, I dock points for the fact that it's a low RQ epic. It's going to be very hard to upgrade. Not a lot of people are going to want to upgrade it anyway. I'm going to bring it down a frequent provider. Not that useful. Next up is going to be the Holden HSV Club Sport. Now, this car, not the worst thing in the world. I'm not going to put it in hot garbage. I'm going to put it in frequent provider, mainly because, like, even though the 0 to 60 is garbage, it still has really good MRA, 89 MRA, and this one actually has decent handling at 85. So, you know, it's kind of like the best of both worlds, whatever both worlds is. Like, these two cars, like most of these cars, excluding the Club Sport, like these three cars, they got, you know, crap handling, especially this one, but they got good MRA, right? And then, like, this one has good 0 to 60, but, you know, it has no MRA, so kind of like this one's in between-ish. And it's not bad, definitely not good though. But yeah, 89 MRA, 85 handling, medium ground clearance, saloon tag. All right, it's decent. But yeah, I mean, real quick, I got the times with these, so I'm just gonna show you the times real quick. I mean, over here, as you can see, these lower end saloons are pretty much useless. The main car that I'm really comparing it to is going to be the Jaguar XJR. Once again, it's a very small niche of medium ground clearance, performance tire, rear-wheel drive, 5-seater slash saloon slash estates, whatever it is. And as you can see, I mean, the main two cars are these two green boys, and yeah, they are the better twisty cars. But when it comes to the drag, the XJR, it still is the better car, winning all the drags compared to cars higher in RQ, compared like the HSV and the Maloo. The XJR still is the better car for the quarter mile, half mile, 1 mile, 0 to 100, 0 to 150. Things change a little bit. L-shaped drag, things change a little bit. City street small and city streets medium. Then these two cars are gonna be better. So definitely, like, these two cars are useful. They are better than the Jag in terms of twisty conditions. And the main thing here, I would say, is the medium ground clearance conditions. That being said, though, like, really, these two cars are the shining lights. These two are kind of decent. Everything else is kind of just meh. So for that reason, I'm going to move this as well to the frequent provider. It's just kind of just meh. And then these two are actually pretty decent. So to be fair, like, I'll put these two cars in the same place on where I would put the 575 Jag. And I mean, Der Kaiser, does it seem like it's a little bit too generous to put these two cars in Der Kaiser? Perhaps, but I would put the 575 Jag in Der Kaiser for sure, mainly because of how useful it is. Handling isn't the best thing in the world though, so therefore I'll put it in daily driver. The thing is this, right? For a saloon medium ground clearance car, where do I feel like it will give me more value? Where will I use a medium ground clearance saloon or estate or pickup truck, you know, more? Would I use it more in drag conditions, or would I use it more in medium ground clearance? And the answer is medium ground clearance. And the fact of the matter is, the Maloo and the HSV GTS is better on the medium ground clearance compared to the Jaguar XJR 575. I think that's why I never really liked the Jaguar 575 in the first place that much, because the handling just sucked on the car. But the 0 to 60 was really good, but the handling just sucked on the car, and that's why I never really maxed it out. So I do respect the HSV GTS and the Maloo a little bit more. It might be a little bit too generous for me to put them into Kaiser maybe later on, after, you know, maybe seeing how they perform in other events, and in relative terms to their mid-range RQ, I might bump them down to daily driver. But one thing that I can definitely say for sure is that these two cars are not bad. In fact, I would think they're actually quite good. So anyway, guys, that's gonna be it for the general consensus. Now let's talk about how useful these cars are in the final, and only in the final. So, as you can see, one thing I do want to stress, and I cannot stress this enough, is that this is the best hand that you can make if you only had unique cars. Basically, no duplicates. But if you had duplicates, literally the way to go is basically these 2 green boys, 2 Fiji water car, and then 1 HSV Club Sport drag, 323 spec for the slalom. Like, that's literally it. Or maybe, you know, just 3 of these, and then 2 Fiji water cars. That would be the best one. But if you had only unique cars, you don't have any duplicates, then this is the best in my opinion. Basically, the final track says is Dragon City. It's a slalom, 1 mile, city street small. That's it. It's just Dragon City, copy pasted from clubs. And basically what I would do if I were you is that I would get this HSV Club Sport 323, put that on the slalom, and then I would put the 2 drag cars that I would decide would be the Holden of Fiji, as well as the Maloo. So this Maloo I would drag spec, this a Fiji I would drag spec, so these 2 I would drag. This I would put on the slalom, and then the HSV W427 and the HSV GTS are the 2 cars that I'll put on the medium ground clearance. That's if I only had unique cars. In terms of possible prize car winning, I really think that only the FPV F6 and the Falcon are going to make a difference, because the reality is not everyone is going to have unique versions of all these 5 cars. In fact, this isn't even the best hand. This is the best hand if you have unique cars only. A lot of people are going to have duplicates of the green boys. I wish I was you guys, because obviously like 22% chance is really high for epic drops, but yeah, 22% chance was not nice to me. Obviously I only have 1 epic, so and it's this one to be fair, but yeah, obviously you want the green ones. So yeah, I mean, these 2 I think are possible prize car winning, but everything else is a fat chance, honestly. Like, these epics are kind of just really too crap to upgrade, in my opinion. These ultra rares are kind of substitutes to these 2 cars. Like, this is a substitute to this, and this is a substitute to this, and this, and this, what else? It was, and this one is a substitute to this. That's it. And then everything else in slim chances and F, no chance. Like, you're just gonna have a bad day, basically. But anyway, guys, that's gonna be it for today. Is it worth opening this pack? I mean, absolutely not. If you're not gonna go for the Sauber, there is no point to open this pack. That being said, though, there are some bonuses in this pack, like the Fiji water car, and you'd be specializing in a brand new niche, which is saloon medium ground clearance, or saloon low ground clearance ultra rares, or saloon rear wheel drive medium ground clearance epics. So there are, you know, if you're a saloon collector, then this pack isn't going to hurt too much, and I am a saloon collector, so it doesn't hurt me too much. If this was a pack full of front-wheel drive Volkswagens or something like that, I would hate it. Front-wheel drive hatchbacks or anything like that, but you know, it's not. I like saloons, that's fair. And it's rear-wheel drive, not four-wheel drive. They're not Subarus, so not too bad, and at least they have decent MR. That they are saving graces to these cars. But anyway, guys, that's gonna be it for today. Like I said, do take this video with a little bit of pinch of salt. I tried to do the best I can, but obviously there are not a lot of times for a lot of these cars. I don't own a lot of them. I'm not seeing a lot of them perform yet, but I do hope that you found this video informational and helpful. But anyway, I hope you guys have a great day. Remember to stay safe, wash your hands, and bless them up. Peace.
Bro, this song just makes me so happy.
Me too.
Imagine being Asian in the 50s, looking nifty, leather jacket, looking sleek, look like Presley, look so deadly, got a jukebox back at home, feeling jazzy, turn it on and play it slow, like the movies with the ladies.
They so fine.
Imagine being Asian in the 50s, looking nifty, leather jacket, looking sleek, look like Presley, look so deadly, got a jukebox back at home, feeling jazzy, turn it on and play it slow, like the movies with the ladies.
They so fine.
Sit back, relax in my Bonneville Pontiac. Hold tight all night, cruise to Jacksonville
Atlantic.
Blonde hair, don't care, look like Leslie Brooks. Pin up girls everywhere with the drop dead look. Swing it side to side as we slow dance to the night. When I'll hold your perfect hand and take you out just for a ride. We'll share milkshakes at